Namato Ratana Tayasa. May I pay homage to Triple Gem, the Buddha, Dhamma and the Sangha. My respect goes to my parents and my teachers. Hello, good evening everyone. So today is Tuesday, this 22nd of September 2020. And this is Ajahn Sujan from Varapunya Meditation Center, Aberdeen, Scotland. As usual, I am here with you all in this evening. I must say that this is another lockdown going to start from tomorrow, nationwide. And I know that end of March, it was so exciting, and every one of us looking forward to the lockdown. Even those who've been working all day long throughout their life found quite amusing to have a lockdown, and government is paying for that. And despite of that payments, within 3 weeks' time or a month later, everyone felt bored and wanting to go out and about and look for the job. And those moments that majority of us were talking about, didn't have time for the family, they didn't have time for themselves. Did enjoy for a week, but after 3 weeks or a month later, didn't want to be with the family, didn't want to be at home, and didn't want to work from home. And look, reasons to go out, search different reasons to be in the workplace. And I have talked to so many people that they said together that wish there is no second lockdown. It's so boring. And I also was thinking that after everything comes to so like a normal, I'm going to move from a daily talk to the weekly. But it seems like not gonna happen. There's another just 10 days left for the Vassa, the rains retreat ends, and then thought that after that I will be taking a break and and coming to give talks and reflections once a week. And now there has been a rumor from a couple of days that there will be a nationwide lockdown. And today, First Minister already announced for this nationwide lockdown. And again, from tomorrow, there will be a curfew for all the pubs and restaurants as well. And simply the reason behind it, the number of affected are increasing daily. But what interesting thing to know now is not that interesting. We do not want to have a lockdown, and we do not want to be locked ourselves in our houses. And I have heard so many people saying that, let the virus get me. I don't want to stay at home. And this is a tricky time. And the government has announced the lockdown. Not visiting anyone unless it's necessary, such as like living alone, or visiting a grandsons or granddaughters or grannies. And despite disliking, now it's the time that we all have to be cautious. You may not be afraid, or you may not be worried about getting a virus, but we should be taking a responsibility to, not for ourselves but also the community. And as a result of that, now this time is going to be the toughest compared to the first lockdown. Mentally we will be more disturbed. Mentally we will be more troubled than in the past. Yes, we have learned the lessons, but yet mentally we are trying to find ways to bend the knees and going out. But what we all need to be considering and aware that be responsible and be mindful whatever you do. And that's the beauty. That is the beauty that the Buddha said. When we do not do something that is harm may come in the future to oneself, then do not do it. And not only that, anything that one does, if that brings the disharmony and cause danger in the community, then one should stop doing that. So in this scenario, in this difficult time, all what we need to be considering is keeping ourselves safe and be mindful and looking after well, taking care of yourself. We were planning to have a katina ceremony, our annual katina ceremony, on the 4th of October. Now basically 2 weeks time. But unfortunately now we have to cancel it. We have to cancel the ceremony, and there will be just an online ceremony, small ceremony at the center by just the monks at the center. And those who have given a name and would like to sponsor the katina, you may do your sponsorship by online donation, or just a dropping off at the center. But there won't be any events, any ceremony at all. So this would be our first cancellation of this katina robe offering ceremony, which the tradition been practiced ever since during the time of the Buddha. Now sadly we have to cancel it for the sake of the safety of our own members in the community. My guidance to you all during this difficult time would be mindful and use at least of the 5 precepts very mindfully. Jamia Burua. Hello, Jamia Falada. Jamia is saying that I am like a Mahayana Buddhist. Maybe because you have seen my hairs. So in our tradition, we shave our hairs once a month. Okay? And Chalan Palada. Yeah, so I have spoken on the 5 precepts and how to use these 5 precepts in our day-to-day life in order to keep ourselves safe and also the members safe. Most importantly, mindfulness practice is one of the greatest and good for this time, because this time you cannot go out from your house, you cannot do things that you like, you cannot go and wander around, there is no window shoppings, and you cannot communicate, you cannot play with your friends, you cannot gather with your friends, there is no parties that you can attend, and there is no possible way, living or having a gathering in the pubs. Mentally you are isolating. Technically, your mind will have more chance to talk, more chance to complain. You have more chance that the mind automatically will go into the unwholesome activities. So in this case, and this is the perfect time, and it's a really important time, you should learn the mindfulness meditation. Because mindfulness meditation is practice that helps you to understand what's going on when it is taking place at that very moment. And the very moment when we are free from other activities or nothing to do outside, the mind begins to become wild. And if we are not mindful of this wild mind, then all sorts of trouble can bring it. And it's like do not underestimate the power of the mind. That's why there is a saying that do not underestimate the power of the monk. Do not underestimate the power of the young king, and do not estimate the power of a snake. Because do not underestimate the power of the arhat, the monk, because we do not know that who is arhat, or the noble, or the enlightened one. If a person who is enlightened one, then any action that you have taken against with that monk, then the consequences would be gravely. So that's why do not underestimate. And the power can be immense, because we do not know that how much the spiritual gain one has attained. And second is do not underestimate the power of this young king, and because he has got the power, the whole power, that he can punish you, he can kill you. Same with the snake. Do not underestimate any small snakes, because once the snake bites you, then it may take your life. But among these, our mind is a more troublesome one. Do not underestimate this mind. The very moment when it comes under the influence of unwholesome thoughts, then due to the greed, hatred and delusion and distraction, it can destroy the whole world. It's like a small piece, a small fire, or it's like you can compare the matches, a piece of matches that can burn the whole city. And this small match can burn the whole city, but this mind can destroy whole world. And world of ourselves and world of others. So that's why in this difficult time, practice of a mindfulness meditation will help us to understand the state of the mind. Understand how my mind is doing. What sort of a state of the mind is going through, whether it is a wholesome mind or whether it is unwholesome mind. And I have again, quoted the story between the two wolves, the Indian stories. One boy went to ask the head of the clan and ask, between two wolves, which one will win? And this head of the clan told this boy, the wolf, which one is fed. And that's the same with our mind too. We are all shaped by our mind and the thought that we have. So whichever thought that we are feeding, and here feeding means constantly remembering, recollecting, thinking, pondering, then that one will get more power. Whether it is wholesome mind or whether it is unwholesome mind. The more we think about it, the more we ponder on it, the more we contemplate on it, it gets the power. Same with the mind that we have. We are all developing our mental qualities or a capability of our mind to understand things as the way we are training to be. That's why there are someone can be an engineer, can be a doctor, can be a scientist, can be a bus driver, or any professions. We are all not born with these professions, but we simply trained to be in that profession because we like it. So our mind can change the way we shape it, whether it is towards the right or the wrong. And that's basically, you will be able to look at it closely when you are sitting alone or living alone with a less contact with the outside world. Pondering and looking at your own mental state, at that moment you will be able to look at yourself more closely, particularly your mental state. And that moment, if mind is untrained, most likely mind will go to the unwholesome states or in the unwholesome activities. And now, rather than prevention from committing or exercising or doing any unwholesome activities, because the mind has come under the influence of the unwholesome thoughts, then it will find every possible ways to make it happen. And that's how domestic problem created, domestic abuse created, sexually abuse created over this couple of months since the COVID-19 introduced. And I am afraid to tell you all that if we are not mindful of our own mental state, which now it's going to begin again the second lockdown, then these mental state will come back again, and you need to be mindful of that. And a practice of a meditation will help you to recognize those state of the mind. And I'm pretty sure with that recognition, you will be able to have what's called non-reactive awareness to the things that arises. So this is the introduction to the Satipatthana, the mindfulness, right mindfulness on the Satipatthana. And this is the third factors of a Satipatthana, the contemplation of the mind. And this moment, the contemplation of the mind, here we are watching the mental state, our emotions, our moods. And I think this is the perfect time to have this topic to discuss, since we are going into the second lockdown, the whole UK. So be mindful in this situation. Whatever you do, whatever you think, whatever you say, be mindful and speak with kindness. And aware of this mental state. And having a non-judgmental awareness on it. And very moment when, again, this is the very important part here in the practice of a mindfulness meditation, particularly when you are watching or practicing this contemplation on the mind, that very moment when you experience the unwholesome thoughts, or unwholesome, mind is distracted to the thoughts that is unwholesome, in that moment, do not fight with it. Do not fight to let go and come back to the breath or the abdomen or the primary object. Do not fight to let it go. So, the very moment when you fight, that moment you are creating the hate. Now, your mind, basically you are making it to be the hateful mind. The task is basically to recognize it and remain receptively aware of it by clearly recognizing it as they are. So receptive to it, but not reacting to it. So honestly accepting the state of the mind that is distracted into the unwholesome thoughts, unwholesome state of the mind. Accepting. And that acceptance is the key here, to let it be. And we become more aware of how this mental state is conditioned and how it is changing to be. So in this difficult time, it's very, very important to be mindful of your own moods, your own emotions, your motives, and your all the mental tendencies, or particularly the latent defilements, the latent tendencies that is saved in our subconsciousness will sprout out as you closed yourself. Mentally can be very disturbing, unable to go out, unable to talk, associate with other people, these things will automatically, psychologically will affect our minds and our brain. And that moment, emotion changes, mood changes, feeling changes. And that moment, if you look at it closely, what you will find in the practice, in our mind, that there are, according to the Satipatthana, there are 16 types of the mind arises. 16 types. Okay, remember, 16 types. There's a positive and a negative types. And this state of the mind that we need to be mindful of. In general, we can, I can tell you that generally greed, hatred, and delusion. A greedy mind arises. You want to consume more, you want to go out, you want to entertain your senses, the greedy mind. You want to get more, you want to entertain your senses by walking around, wandering around, or associating with other people. So greed. And hate, why I can't do it, why I can't make it, I don't get the virus, the people that I associate, they don't have a virus, and so and so. With that, you will be creating the anger or resistance or hate towards the government or the people. Again, I was reading a newspaper, a BBC newspaper, says that the retail small businesses have contacted the police to intervene because people are neglecting or not wanting to wear the mask when they are getting into the shops. And people are not happy. So that sort of angry mind generate hatred starts to, sprouts in you. And delusion, sometimes just deluded mind, you do not know what to do. It's called a moha, unknown. And that is also, in a basic term, there are these 4 major negative states of the mind. We will be able to detect and be mindful of that. But these are very big mindset. But what we need to be mindful is the small bits of things. Emotion changes. mood changes. Mind is just restless. Mind is just so angry. And these are the mental states that we have to aware of that. And then there is no actively involving in any form of activities with these states of the mind. All what you are doing is observing as they are. So receptive awareness by clearly recognizing it, but no reaction to it at all. That's why in the past I normally use the simile of do not react but respond. And our mind is such a good thing that it's like the mirror. When we look at the mind, we see the tendencies or the state of the mind, like we are sitting and looking at our own physical body. And we see that state of the mind. And this is the contemplation of the mind that very, very important to develop and very important to practice, particularly once the lockdown starts from tomorrow. And the government says that possibly 6 months of a lockdown may review again and again after 3 weeks' time. So during this time, I encourage you all to meditate and to practice the mindfulness meditation. Try to be mindful of your own feelings, your own mental state, and do not let the unwholesome thoughts to carry it away. Let prevent from having any unwholesome thoughts, bad thoughts, and eliminating it, but generating this loving kindness, compassion, generosity, kindness towards yourself and then to others. So let's hope we all can go through with it. Keep safe, save others, be happy, and be mindful. With this, I end tonight's reflection. May you all be well and happy. Stay safe. Take care. May the Buddha Dhamma Sangha bless you. In a few moments' time, we're going to have a chanting and guided meditation. You are most welcome to join with us. Until then, good night and see you shortly. Sadhu.